In the mountains on the outskirts of Datong City, Shanxi Province, China, there is a large group of Buddha statues from 1500 years ago. At the end of the 5th century AD, as the Northern Wei dynasty moved its capital to another city, the construction of large-scale grottos stopped, and private construction of grottos began. Why were people at that time so devoted to Buddhism? This is the story of this ancient site. In 460 AD, the Northern Wei government began to dig caves and build huge Buddha statues in the mountains near the capital Datong. Over 30 years, more than a dozen huge caves have been excavated, and many Buddha statues have been carved inside. Since the project was state-funded, the Buddha statues carved during this period were gigantic, and the scale of the project was also huge. About these Buddha statues, I will leave the link in the description. In 494 AD, out of strategic considerations, the Northern Wei dynasty moved its capital from Datong to Luoyang, 700 kilometers south. Since then, the construction of the caves here has stopped. This cave is an unfinished project. We can see from the outside that there once was a wooden exterior building, which has disappeared due to decay. The inside of the cave looks like an abandoned quarry. We can see round stones that have been cut, presumably to be sent to the city to build houses. It seems that 1500 years ago, the artisans left here in a big hurry. Judging from the scale, this would have been a magnificent Buddhist cave. The 10-meter-high Buddha in the cave may have been carved in the Tang Dynasty in the early 7th century. Since no words or inscriptions were found, it is not yet certain. After 494 AD, although this state project was suspended, many small caves appeared in this area. Ordinary people hired artisans to dig caves and carve Buddha statues here to show their devotion to Buddhism and pray for blessings. These caves vary in size, and the content of the carvings is also different. But you don't need to be an expert to see the difference between these caves and earlier ones. According to official records, Buddhism was introduced to China from ancient India in 67 AD. However, for a long time, this religion was not widely accepted by people, until about 200 years later, at the end of the 3rd century AD, serious internal strife broke out in China's Jin dynasty. Several members of the imperial family with large military forces turned against each other in the hope of becoming emperor. Many nomads in northern China took advantage of the chaos to seize territory. Northern China has since fallen into division for more than a century. During this period, nearly 20 regimes emerged in northern China. Simply put, multiple regimes coexisted, confronted, and fought each other at any given time. There was almost no peacetime, and innocent people naturally became the biggest victims. At that time, people were regarded as one of the most important resources. They would be captured as slaves or laborers, and of course, their property would also be taken away. The never-ending war made people unable to see the future and the hope of life. This is where Buddhism comes into play. Buddhism emphasizes karma, that is, cause and effect. Buddhism believes that if a person does more good things in this life, he will live a good life in the next life. This concept brought hope to ordinary people struggling in the war, who could only place all their hopes in the next life. Since then, Buddhism has developed greatly in China. To this day, many Buddhist temples built more than 1,000 years ago can still be seen in this ancient city. Archaeologists found some inscriptions on this rock. This inscription of about 300 Chinese characters was carved in 495 AD. From this, we learn that the small cave next to it was built by a man named Wu Tian'en for his son, a military general who tragically died on the battlefield. Wu Tian'en built this Buddhist cave to pray for his son, hoping that he could enter the world of paradise, which is a world in Buddhism that is completely free of suffering and full of happiness. Archaeologists also discovered an inscription in this unfinished cave. According to research, this text was carved around 520 AD. Due to severe weathering, we can only know that this cave was built by a woman for her late husband, but we can no longer know their names. We don't know how much it would cost to hire a team to build such a cave, but what we can feel is their devotion to Buddhism. However, the development of Buddhism in China has not always been this smooth. Just 10 years before this huge national project began, Buddhism suffered a devastating blow and was almost eliminated. Emperor Tuo Batao of the Northern Wei dynasty initiated this extermination of Buddhism. Why did he do this? What are the consequences? We will discuss this in the next episode.